Topics may be triggering for some viewers. Viewer discretion is advised.
All right, welcome to Recovering with Friends. I'm Seth Fournier. I have Lauren sitting here co-hosting with me today, taking Kayleigh's spot. And then we have Dale Coronin over here and Glenn Gordon. So Dale, you want to tell us a little bit about yourself?
My name's Dale. I grew up with an alcoholic family, and I was in jail, did a lot of time in jail, and I just had to straighten my life out, and I had Glenn as my sponsor for a very long time now, and I just love the life I got today, and it's a better life than I've ever been in.
Well, that's awesome. And you already brought up, so the topic I want to talk about today was a little bit about relationships and sponsorships. And I think I heard your story a couple times, so it really it stuck with me. When I sat there and everybody's going, man, he walked in 8 years ago, never thought he was going to make it and this and that. But I know the relationship you guys have really made a big difference in that. Can you tell me a little bit about how your sponsorship helped you do well in recovery?
Because I was in, like I said, I was in jail, and when I was in there, I just almost lost my kid and at the age of two with cancer. And when I started doing the work, I had one sponsor in there named Chip. And as soon as I got released in 2015, I actually get me another sponsor when I got out, and I had Glenn sponsor me since then, and it's been a great journey that I'm on right now. And I went through the book and kept on reading the book and stuff, and I can't act for the life that I got today. Is crazy. I sold drugs and could kill somebody and stuff like that, and I'm just happy to have Glenn as my sponsor and be able to have the life that I got today.
And so when I heard you guys talk the other day and stuff, I think you guys talked a little bit about that. Started with some sort of program that you were part of, where you were coming out of incarceration, and that's how you kind of got hooked up with Glenn. Can you guys talk about that a little bit for a minute? Fill us in on that.
So yeah, so there's a great program. It's called Bridging the Gap, and so Bridging the Gap is a program that basically connects people who are getting out of treatment centers or institutions or corrections, and tries to pair them up with somebody in the community that they're from, and kind of get them engaged and get them interacting and into 12-step meetings or what have you, right? So I get a call from a guy over in Norway, and they go, "Hey, we got a guy coming out of war and who's looking to connect with somebody," and I'm scratching my head going, yeah, I guess. I'll do it, sure. So I was on the list to call, so I get the call. At the time, I was a little, I was a few years in, and was kind of going through, some of my own stuff, and I but I said, yeah, I'll talk to him, and so they connected me up, and I met up with Dale, and it was awesome. I mean, it inspired me, really got me back looking at my own recovery and that kind of stuff, and basically because of Dale's kind of enthusiasm. Like, he came out and he was just hungry and ready to go. He was raw. He had a lot of anger. He's an angry guy. But he was just on fire about trying to get better and to connect. And he was fired up. He was fired up about almost losing his daughter and the illness, and he had so many goals. He wanted to get a car, get a job, get back to work, find a house, buy a house, all this stuff. He was really just super psyched and super pumped up and ready to go. And so we would meet up, and he'd want to, come over to my house, and we'd be discussing some book work and that kind of stuff. And, when I'd have set aside an hour and to work with him, and so we'd read and we'd talk about it for an hour or so. And then I go, Dale, I gotta go to bed. And he goes, can we read just a little bit more? I'm like, I gotta get up and go to work, Dale. I go, no. Can we read just a little bit more? And so we keep reading, and we read to 10, we read another hour or two, and and he had done a bunch of work with a guy he was working with in jail that he brought with him. He'd done some hard, a lot of writing, a lot of looking at his life, looking at himself, looking at the people that he harmed and that kind of stuff. And so we started looking through that and talking about that and what that meant and and he started working like that. And he went out and he started reaching out to some of the people, and he'd sit down and he'd call them up and he'd make appointments and he'd go and sit down and talk to them about, we talked about each person, what do you want to say? What's the conversation look like? What's that, and he'd go and he'd take him out and sit down. He took a lot of people to Dick's, right?
Yeah, exactly. I took a lot of people to Dick's and I had coffee with them when I was taught from my sponsor. Take them to Dick's, talk to them, and explain to them if anything I can do to make it better. And they all agreed that no, we're all happy the way you are today. And that's what I did. And my sponsor taught me how to make amends to somebody who's passed away in a graveyard, and to write a letter and bring it over to them. Do your prayer before you start and go like that. And that's what I did. I did what he wanted me to do, and I did what I had to do to make my program work, because enough was enough for me.
And how long you guys been working together?
With him?
Yeah.
I probably about almost 8 years.
And you're 10 years sober at this point?
8, 9, yeah. Well, yeah, because I started at the farm in 2013. I started down there when I was at the farm, in jail, prison. Like I tell a lot of people, there's a lot of things in jail that you could actually do if I wanted to. But I took the choice not to, because like I said, my daughter was died with cancer and all that stuff, and it scared me.
I bet.
It scared me big time, so I wanted to get out and straighten my life out.
Now, when you got back, if you didn't have a sponsor, you weren't working with Glenn, do you think you'd have made it to the point you're at now?
I think I would have made the meetings until I found me a sponsor, because I would have been definitely looking for a sponsor, no matter how I looked at it. But I planned it when I got out of jail, that from my other sponsor, Chip, I set it up so I would have a sponsor as soon as I got released from jail.
So I guess that's what I was asking. So you knew you needed a sponsor. You needed that person.
Yes, I did.
So, and that's a pretty major part of these programs for a lot of people, like that sponsorship.
It is.
And yeah, so I hear all kinds of funny and playful stories about you, and different things. But I mean, I heard, so I went over to your 10-year thing, and I heard people talking, go, man, when this guy first walked in, we're thinking, no way in hell. And I go, this is the guy I need. I need this guy in here to talk. And it's such a cool story. But you were talking more. I heard you, walk us through how, at the beginning, how hard you had to work to make it to meetings.
I had to work very hard to get to a meeting, because when I got released in 2015, I had nothing on my back. I come out with a $50 for a bus ticket home, and come home with just the clothes they give me to walk on my back, on me as I walked out that door. And I had nothing. I had to build myself up to where I got today. I had to come out, and I had to hitchhike to Farmington to get to a meeting, and I didn't let nothing in the way nothing stopped me when I had no license. They took my license too for a year as soon as I got released, and I worked my butt off to get what I wanted. I would hitchhike in the rain, didn't care what the weather was. I wanted my meetings. My meetings are very important. I pulled in at the hospital in Franklin and on Farmington, and I was soaking wet sometimes, and I had a backpack on my back. Sometimes I get a ride, sometimes I wouldn't. The way I look at it, I would get top of Morrison Hill, and I would hitchhike back if I didn't get a ride if it's 8 o'clock. I look at the clock, it's 8 o'clock. So I had to work what I got. I had to work very hard, because I had enough, The stuff that I did was crazy stuff, I could have killed somebody with all the stuff I had done, and I could have accidents I got into, thought I could drink and drive or do drugs, and I always blame the cops because it's their fault, because I got busted and drugs. It's just incredible stuff that I couldn't even believe that I'm glad to be where I am. But anyway, I'm really glad to be where I am today, because my out of control in doing the stuff that I did, I mean, I would fight with cops and beat up cops, and like I was a good person, like you know, beat cops. You know, blaming cops because they arrested me. They were doing their job.
Wasn't there a song about your time that talked about I fought the law, but the law won? Did you not listen to that earlier?
Yes, you're right. There was a song that said that, and I thought I was one of them. I fight the law and I win, but I was wrong.
So, like through this whole process, Dale, like, is there one or two things you'd point out that were like the most important, the biggest things you did to get where you got here? Like, if you just could give a newbie like one or two pieces of information, what would it be?
Well, the life that I got today, I had to learn. I had to learn that I work my butt off, work a lot to get in the program, do the work. I had to do the work, the book work. You know, and I'm a person that can't read or write that good, but I didn't let it stop me. I did what I had to do to get the book, read the book. Literatures that I have in this program that I would never could read, but I wasn't scared to get up there and try it. I'm not scared to get up and share in front of a bunch of people. And I wasn't scared. I ain't scared to help another alcoholic or drug addict. I take my program very serious because I've been there. And I did a lot of time in jail. And the life that I have today, the work, the people, the person I work for, White Yard Work, would never hired me. Wasn't going to hire me. But my stepfather, and actually I call my father now, and my uncle had to go talk to him to give me that job because he said, I don't know if he's going to make it because he ain't going to quit drinking and stuff. I had to prove myself.
Did you find it really difficult to find a job around here after? Just knowing that everybody knows who you were and everything like that? Did you find it hard to find gainful employment?
Not really.
Yeah.
So he's downplaying. Okay. So Dale comes out, right? So Dale comes out, and at first, like, he is having a hard time finding a job. Like, he was doing odd jobs. Like, he did odd jobs at my house, and people in the program hired him to do a bunch of odd jobs. It was gradually, then he started to pick up jobs. At one point, you know, he's working really hard because he had a lot of goals. He was working like 3 jobs. One night, he was working so much, he came up to one of the meetings, and he ended up falling asleep in the parking lot and waking up for the Lord's Prayer, right? But that took some time. I mean, that wasn't, you know, from where I'm standing, you know, and Dale had a few, you know, but Dale just was persistent about it, you know, and some of the things that he did too. I mean, like in the meantime, to fill his time, you talk to Dale, it's about being busy, right? And that's the thing we always encourage, I think, is, you know, is just staying busy. Like he took on a home group. He had a home group where he was going and he was showing up and making coffee every week, right? And doing stuff like that. So he was getting in and really early, like doing service work, like trying to get connected and do, you know, and do that kind of stuff. Always, as soon as he got a car, it's probably like a 18 months when he got a car.
About a year, because
Like-
I lost my life for a year.
Like the minute he got his car, because he had so much struggles with people, like, because he had so many struggles with himself getting rides. The minute he got a car, like when Dale pulls up, it is very rare that he pulls up anywhere that he hasn't bring somebody else to a meeting. As soon as he got a car, he's like bringing guys to meetings. He's like rounding up the troops and throwing them in the car, and he's like, I'm not leaving anybody stranded. I got stranded. I'm not leaving anybody stranded. Somebody needs a ride. I'm giving them a ride. You know, and been like that ever since. You know what I mean? So those kind of things. So I think eventually, like, he went through the thing, and he could tell you, but like he ended up working for the town, and because of something that happened in his past, something on his record, he ended up getting.
Yeah, well, I was working for the town of Rockford, and my uncle was a boss up there, and well, when the cops didn't get along with me at the time, they did get along with me now, but didn't get along with me at the time. I'm a felon, so like they had a pop. Never happened way back, because I worked for them many years, and then suddenly I tried to go back to work when I was driving the sidewalk plow, and they called me in the office, and my uncle really didn't want to tell me the information. He probably thought I would flip out, and
That wouldn't happen ever.
because I got a bad temper that's still working on trying to get rid of it, but I'm better than what I used to be to
Oh,
a lot of people. But my uncle would take me in the office with someone else and told me I couldn't work there because I was a felon.
It
And
must
so
be
I
an
would,
awful feeling.
it was, and so I love driving the sidewalk. I always wanted to drive the sidewalk plow, and I was just getting used to it, and I was loving it. So I went down to the town office, and I talked to her, who I can't remember her name now, who was in charge over there, and I said, "What's going on? How come this is all happening to me?" and ain't nothing I could do. I wanted to try to see if I get lawsuits or do something because I felt like I was being discriminated. But yeah, it was too much of a hassle to go through, and that's where I come in to work for Roger White. And he didn't know if he would really want me, but he knocked on my door one day because, like I said, my uncle and my father went over there and said something to him. He gave me that chance, and I've been with him for probably 3 or 4 years now, off and on. And I work for a paving company. It's the stuff I got now in life. But I probably would never made it. I probably wouldn't have never made it if I wouldn't have straightened my life. I wouldn't have to stop. But I never, like Glenn was saying, this program has helped me out and gave me the jobs that I got today. I mean, they started me off. He let me work around his house. I mean, come on, trust a person like me who used to be a drunken alcoholic around his house. He let me do that around his house, work around his house and do stuff I had to do around his house. And then when I got into doing stuff around his house, things started picking up like crazy. And like he said, I used to fall asleep at the Green Church in Mexico trying to make it to a meeting because I was so tired. Because I was working at Hobby's Carpet, I was working at Sunday River, and I was doing my odd job, shoveling roofs and stuff. I was working 3 or 4 different jobs because I want to bring myself and keep myself busy so I can be a better person.
Absolutely, I get that. I mean, being busy and productive in good ways definitely makes a huge difference. Now, I know, like, from seeing you the last few months in the recovery community and stuff, a lot of people really look up to you. A lot of people follow you around, I think, because they saw your struggles and how well you accomplished them. But so I know you've been a sponsor a lot too. How many people do you think you've sponsored and given back with?
I sponsored probably about 4 or 5 or maybe more because I think right now the area, a couple I just gave up on because they didn't want the help. I mean, I would do what I can for them, but when you sit there and lie and I catch you, like I tell everyone, this is my hometown, so you can't hide many secrets from me. I always find out, and these guys kept on, and I tell them, and I try to tell them they like go. It's like talk to my kid, like go one ear and the other ear. Don't listen. I'm probably saying way sometimes, so I can't hear.
Oh yeah, I've heard you could be a hard sponsor, but I also hear people like I know a lot of people follow you. I know a lot of people get a lot of help from you, and I think that's really cool. So I mean, like I've seen it now. What's harder, being the sponsor or the sponsee?
being a being a sponsor is good. I like it. I like it doing that.
Is it harder or easier though than actually being the sponsee? Is like helping other people out? Do you find that harder than when it was like somebody like which end of it's better to be on or is easier to do?
Being a
What's more
sponsor.
challenging?
I don't know.
I mean, I guess they both can have their ups and downs to it and stuff like that. Being a sponsee, sometimes it can be hard to just like accept what somebody's telling you or working with that and like looking at yourself. But I find being sponsored can be just as hard because
It can be.
we want to see people make changes. We want to see good things for them,
Exactly.
but we can't push too hard. But we got to push hard enough or whatever. And like, yeah, I can imagine it could be a really challenging effect.
He's gotten mad at me a few times. He stopped talking to me a couple times. But for the most part, he called him Mr. Softy. He thinks I'm a little soft.
Yeah, I got it's good. A couple good things is how it feels to walk into an Oxford County jail now and share your story there and hear doors slam 6 times, 3 in the way in, 3 in the way out. That's the best feeling I ever had in my whole life. And a lot of people may say when I talk about my story, they must think I'm kidding because they probably look at me like this guy he probably don't know what he's talking about. But I tell them go talk to some of the guys who still work here, ask them how I was, what I did in there. That's what I tell people. If you don't believe me, go around ask some people who know me what I did. Because usually when I tell a story, I don't got nothing to lie about. I got no reason to lie about what I say. I'm not a perfect person, but my life is better. It makes me feel good when I can go to the Oxford County Jail and get people to come in this program and tell them the way it is. My sponsor always says I feel like a drill sergeant because I've been in jail. I did it.
I got to ask though, mean, I heard you kind of tell this story a little bit. I heard you can kind of be a little bit of a wise ass when you're in jail. So I want one of you two to tell some of these stories of your inspirations to others when you go in there. And I'm using inspiration a little sarcastically or whatever. The going in there with Dunkin' Donuts coffee.
Oh yeah, I just
You
you know
tease them with the Dunkin' Donuts.
I went in there and I had a Dunkin' Donuts coffee one day, and I said, if you guys want this stuff, straighten your bite out. They get all kinds on the streets. I did say that. Why I said that? Because I'm no perfect. I was one of them persons sat in that room on an AA meeting way back in days, and come in there just to get the fresh air.
Is it true you asked them what their girlfriends are doing and wives?
Yeah,
Must have loved you.
oh yeah, they probably didn't like that, but I let them know.
It's
'Cause why I said that is because I had girls that tell me to wait for me when I get out of jail. I was like, I don't wait for me, so I want them to know. Well, do you really think your girlfriends are gonna wait for you or in jail?
This is a mature show, right?
Yes.
So let me tell you how this really goes down. Do you know what your girlfriend is doing tonight? Not you.
And the reason I bring this up is you're a character, kind of a little bit of a hard ass, but people respect you a lot, and you can get away with saying some of that stuff because you lived that life, you walked that walk. It comes with weight.
Yep.
I mean, like if I went in there and kind of said that to something, I've never been in jail. I think it would come across as hypocritical or whatever. But like you've lived the life. I mean, I lived a little bit of the life or whatever, but you walked the walk, and now it's like you're showing by example. So that kind of gives you that little bit where, hey, sometimes you're gonna give them a taste of that what they don't want to hear, and maybe it's a little bit difference making. I mean, I think coming from somebody that's been there and been on both sides has a hell of a lot different of a meaning.
I look at it. Yeah, I look at it like now. They got it made being in jail now.
I mean, I don't know if I go that far.
Oh, they have computers in the
true.
room.
It is true. They have computers in there.
And
everything
computers
now.
in the room. Never had computers when we had
And we were just talking about this before, and I know with me, the worst part of being in prison is watching the world go on without you while you're in there. It's lonely. Nobody's waiting for you, really, besides your family, the few people that you might have, but the world doesn't stop while you're in there. And I know with me, I felt grateful. Did you feel the same way when you finally kind of settled in and realized that
I
this is
felt
it?
I felt all right. I was always down on in there. You know, I didn't want to do anything for a while until I get to the farm. I worked out until I get to the farm. I didn't really do much, like you said. It's lonely. You think all these people that you did stuff with or drank with or you did drugs with or whatever, they're gonna write you letters and stuff, and nobody writes you a friggin' thing. Just maybe your family did still love you. If you spend a lot of time in jail, they might not even write to you. It did get long. You see everyone else getting letters, and you're not getting any. That could become
Yeah.
Must be hell of a feeling though, where 10 years ago you were in prison. Now you're leading a meeting. You're sitting on the show. You're active in every recovery event we have, and you have people that look up to you. Some days you must look in the mirror and go, "How the hell did this happen?"
I look at myself as I would never think I would ever make it. But I always remember one thing, and I was always taught a couple of things since meeting, is shake hands and meeting with people. Like when I celebrated 10 years in April this last couple of weeks, I never in my life had that much friends, brothers and sisters, I call them in meetings. 60 to 70 people at my celebration. I would never had that.
I think you might be a little off there too. I think it might have been more people than that there. I went over to that and I had trouble. Well, Glenn had to dig me out a chair. I didn't even realize at the moment when I went over there that it was your 10 year, but I went over and that's a huge building or a big room for a meeting and had to dig out chairs. I mean, that must make you feel pretty good about yourself. That must make you feel proud of the work and the accomplishments. People wouldn't look at you that way if you didn't put the work in.
Right. It felt good to have my mother who's 78, 80 something years old, and I put her through some rough times, and it feels good to have her there, and my sisters and the relationships I have with my sisters and stuff today. I would never have that. I would never have that at all. And it felt so good to have my mother there, and the necklace she got me when she got me this one day, it's just the reading the back of it. It just almost makes me cry, you know, and that stuff right there I'll never have if I wouldn't straighten my life out. When I got released in 2015, I lost a lot of people. I lost 3 brothers of the disease of alcohol, and what happens when you drink, you wouldn't feel a smoker. What happens, you smoke like crazy, smoke like a chimney. So when all that happened, and I tell everyone, I smoked cigarettes when I skipped school when I was 16 years old. I did it all, and it just feels good for when I got released in 2015 that I could go down, I hitchhiked down to Lawston to be next to their bedsides as they're giving their last breath to my father-in-law and my brother, watch them both get the last breath. I called a nurse person in and said, this is where they go. And I just had enough time to call my mother to have her come down for that time.
Yep. Well, I think we're kind of getting there time wise, but I got like one more big question I want to ask you. And it was asked to me tonight, so I think it's really appropriate to bring it up. I had somebody ask me today, when you're looking for a sponsor, what should you look for? And I mean, you've been a sponsor, you've been a sponsee. Like, what would you give for a suggestion if somebody comes up to me going, as an individual, what should I look for in a sponsor?
Look at the time, look how much time they have, a little bit of time, and look and see if they're all right for a sponsor, I guess, right? So, I guess that's basically how I did it. Just look for a sponsor, and then you look and see if he knows a little bit of stuff, and I guess basically that's how I just went on and picked the sponsor out. And that me actually I got sent to one. And I had him since I got released, and I tell you right now, he's my best sponsor.
You have anything to add to that, Glenn, about what would you suggest for somebody looking for a sponsor, that newbie that comes walking in?
Just, I mean, I think the biggest thing is to me is just to find somebody with something you want. I mean, it's like, and what is that thing that you want? I mean, for me, I wanted somebody who I felt, I guess, had like, I probably couldn't have quite put my finger on the time, but I knew it was what I was looking for in a weird way. It was like just somebody who had integrity, I mean, that was just an honest person that, that what they were saying in meetings looked like they lived it in their lives, I mean, because to me, I don't, that's the most important thing. It's not what I say. It's like, how am I living, So I was really looking for somebody who I felt like was living a life like that I wanted. I remember my first sponsor was just a family guy and he was committed to his family at 3, and so he came in and he worked with men, he sponsored men and that kind of stuff. And he also like took, he worked and took care of his family and he was, like he did all that stuff. He was, if you saw him in the community thing, he's just a normal everyday guy. And that's, I guess, so he had that thing that I wanted. He was the same everywhere he went. He was the same with everybody. But he's also intelligent. He clearly had done like some work on himself. Like he was self-aware. He understood himself. And he really was clear when he spoke. He was clear. I could understand what he was saying. It didn't. It was. Yeah. He was talking about what he did. When he's like talking about practical application of like the principles to his life. Like it wasn't just like this pie in the sky stuff. Like it was stuff I could kind of like understand and dig my, like that's, I needed something boots on the ground. You know what I mean? I need some pie in the sky fluffy. What do you think? I don't care about people's opinions. Tell me what you do, how you did it, and let me see how it worked in your life. You know what I mean? And that really, it's probably too long of an answer, but that was what's important to me. When I suggest, find somebody who has something you want, and it looks like what's coming out of their mouth is what they're doing, what they're living.
Well, and you just nailed something there. I look at Dale, and when you talk, Dale, half the time I don't even know what the hell you're necessarily talking about. You kind of go in loops. But the one thing I can tell, though, and I think a lot of people look up for you for it, and like sponsorship, and I do, you walk the walk. You are trying to make the next right move every time. And that doesn't take talking, that doesn't take anything else. That just, people notice what we do. Probably why so many people end up going your way.
I got one more question, and then I'll shut up. I just want to say, I am getting ready to write a book, to put a book out there of my whole life story. I'm working on it right now, trying to hoping I can get published sooner or later to put that book out there. Let everyone know how my life used to be and how it is today. Because that's my program I want to work to. Let everyone know how it can be if you work in this program.
I think that sounds really cool. I think that's a great goal. I think you might be stubborn enough to actually do it. And have you ever looked into it? What's the name of the AI app now that helps you with your writing? Chat
Oh,
GQ or GT or
I don't know, but my coworker Davey would know all about that.
yeah, they have a program Tommy uses it stuff where you put in like the information you want. It actually helps you write it to like list it out. Like you could list in and talk about all the things you want to, and then it puts it in a nice written format that pretties it up. Something I sure the hell can't do. I can't pretty it up at all.
I am doing it.
I'm trying.
I am
know
the
you-
artificial intelligence.
It's
My
Glenn. Name
sponsors
is
helping
Glenn.
me. Thank
Trying
you.
to save you some time, Glenn. I know that you don't have enough of it with all the people that you're trying to help
the
out.
fast times in high life of Dale K. as Dale sees it.
So when this thing goes like bestseller and stuff, I think you probably should like donate like a dollar per book back to us here to help with the recovery community. When you sell your
credit as
100,000
Yeah.
100,000 copies,
If
if
it ever makes it, I think it's going to be. I actually think it's going to be a good story because everybody's like probably would think some of the things I say are not necessary stuff because they don't know me. Some
I
people-
know my 13-year-old loved it. When we came here and met you at the rally, he goes, you know that little bald guy in there that beats up cops? That guy's great. He's way more fun than Mom's friends.
Yeah, but I actually thought it was kind of fun to beat him up, but I'm the one to pay
Oh.
for everything.
And my son is like completely like good kid. I mean, there's nothing there. It's just like your charisma, your energy, all that just rolls over on people. And he's met all kinds of people, but he liked what you had to say, and it's hard to turn down that big flashy smile you have, and it goes right from your chin to your freaking ears. I mean, it's just you light right up. You light a room up, Dale. I think it's been really cool to get to know you. I'm really thankful both you guys came on. I'm thankful that Lauren jumped in as a co-host today here, and I'm really just thankful to get to know everybody here. Learned a lot from everybody.